Hello, I am Lonk the Saint, and this is my first ever YouTube video. Hooray! Now, I am a huge fan of the game Mythgard. I love the depth, I love the strategy, it's just a fantastic game overall. And like with a lot of other games I play, I like watching YouTube videos, I like watching other creators who, quite frankly, are better than me at the game, that can show off the different decks, what they can do, and I can learn something new about the game as well. So for this channel, I want to do something a little bit different. There's a plenty of other creators out there who are making just straight up gameplay footage. I want to do a little bit of educating along with it as well. So for each video, I would like to pick a topic or a theme or an idea and then build decks around that idea or theme to kind of show it off so you guys can learn about different aspects of the game. But don't worry, we're going to have plenty of awesome decks. We're going to have some, cool videos as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So the way I want to start off with this channel is I want to go through each of the 6 colors on the color wheel, and we're going to start off with the color red. Now, red in the game is known as Oberos, and within the game's mythos, red is built around the Greek gods. So basically, the Greek gods were dying out, so in order to preserve their kind, they mixed their bloodlines, which is a fancy way of saying got freaky with a bunch of demons, and ended up creating the world's first vampires. So what you see in red is a lot of mechanics built around that. Because you have vampires, you have life tap. Because you have demons, you have a lot of direct damage, like, hitting your opponent with fire and stuff like that. Red also tends to be a little bit smaller than the other colors, I should say. Red in general, the minions tend to be not as big on rate as it is with the other colors, but it makes up for that by being much more aggressive. So you also see abilities like Rush, which allows them to attack the turn they come into play, and Agile, which allows them to get around the enemy minions, and things of that nature to kind of help the deck be more aggressive to take out the opponent before they have a chance to, swoop in and win the game. So enough of me yammering, so how about we get into some gameplay, and I'll show you exactly what it is I'm talking about, what red can do. Let me just show you the deck real quick before we get into gameplay here. I'm not going to do a full-on deck tech for this, but if you would like me to go into more detail and explain a bit more, because honestly this deck is a lot of fun to play and I've had a lot of success with it on the ladder, leave a comment below. Might be a good idea for a future video. So anyway, this is a deck called Big Red. It's called Big Red because typically Mono Red wants to be a very aggressive build. This is more of a mid-range type of build. It's still fairly aggressive, but it tries to play a little bit of a longer game and goes a little bit bigger than your average Mono Red deck, so hence the name Big Red. It's also a term that comes from Magic the Gathering. So our path is going to be Turn of Seasons. Our power is going to be Impel. The Impel is especially important so we can maneuver around, get in for damage quicker, take out the opponent before they have a chance to really take over the board. We're going to run 2 copies of Extract Life. This is a good card for dealing with in a bigger minion in the mid to late game, and also gain us some life. Extract Life we're going to run 2 copies of. Strigoi Pup here we're going to run 4 copies of. It's just a 2-1 with life tap. We're going to run 4 copies of Daring Trapezist. It's a 2-2 with Rush, so it can attack the turn it comes into play. Then we're going to run 2 copies of Firesong Prodigy. When it comes into play, we'll put an Ignition spell in our hand. We're not running Ignition in the main deck, so it's another way to get a card into our hand. Then we're going to run 3 copies of Crimson Pact. This is going to be our main removal spell. Normally, the loss of life would be an issue, but in this deck, we have plenty of life taps, so it kind of mitigates the damage it would do to us by having to pay life for it. So we're fully justified in running 3 copies here. Then we have 3 copies of Icor Feast, another card we have to play life for, but again, we have plenty of life tap, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. And the ability to draw 3 cards for 3 mana is fantastic. This is what's going to keep our hand filled in the mid to late game, keep us from running out of steam too quickly. Then 4 copies of Iron Belly Wyvern. It's a 3-2. It's another rush minion, but this one also has teleport, which is especially good with Impel because we can maneuver it anywhere we need to on our side of the board to do what it needs to do. And 3 copies of Panic Raider. It's a 2-2. It's going to hit our opponent, draw us a couple of cards. You'll see this in pretty much every red deck. Just a great card all around. And then we're running 2 copies of Shopworn Bull. It's a 2/5, nice beefy body. It's going to draw us a card and then have us put one back in the deck. So it's not going to gain us a card, but it's going to let us filter out the stuff we don't need and hopefully draw into something that we do. And 2 copies of Alacrity. This is our first 4-drop in here. It's going to give our minions +1/+0 and Agile until our next turn. This is a great closer for the deck. A lot of times your opponents will line up their blocks thinking they have you pinned down, thinking that they've bought themselves another turn or two, and then you drop this on them, skirt right around their minions, and just flat out win the game right then and there. I've had it happen a bunch of times with this deck, so definitely a good card to have in here. Our next 4-drop is Okadodana. When one of our other minions dies, it's going to deal damage to our opponent and gain us some life. And when it itself is destroyed, you'll look at the top 3 cards of your deck, pick one and put it in your hand. Very effective, very powerful card indeed. It's going to give us some value out of sacrificing our own creatures, which can be important, especially if the opponent's looking to make trade after trade. Then we have 2 copies of Wings of Abaddon, just a very versatile creature to have, often used as a removal spell. You can crash it into one of your opponent's minions, take out the enemy minion, deal some damage to your opponent, or you can sacrifice one of your other minions to give it immortal, keep it around for another turn. Just a very good, very useful card to have. Then we have 3 copies of Duskwing Angel. It has Agile and Life Tap, and after killing a minion in combat, it'll fully heal. Another great way to get around our enemy's minions, do some damage, gain us some life. Then we have a copy of Gigantomachia. It banishes all minions with 4 or more health. We do have some minions in here with 4 or more health, so you kind of have to be careful when playing it. But if your opponent's way ahead on board, especially with the control decks that like to throw out these gigantic creatures in the mid to late game, this can level the playing field and keep you from outright losing. And it's also important to note that it banishes, it doesn't destroy. So creatures like Indrik Beast or Sapo, which have warded on them, this ignores warded and it'll remove them from the game completely so they can't bring them back from the graveyard. So this is a great sweeper to have, especially with mono red, which tends to be a little bit smaller. Then finally we have 2 copies of Magmatar. When it enters the battlefield, it'll do 3 damage to minions in the 3 opposing lanes. Good removal to spell to have, and it's also just a nice 3/3 body to have on the battlefield. Then we have a copy of Cerberus Unchained. When it attacks, it attacks all 3 opposing lanes. So if this goes unchecked, it will deal 9 damage to our opponent, which can quickly end the game if they don't have a way to deal with it. Then finally, the last card in the deck is a copy of 7 Ring Ritual, one of my absolute favorite cards in this game. It'll fill each of our unoccupied spaces with a 3/1 minion. And if the opponent doesn't have a way to deal with this right away, it often just ends the game. I've seen plenty of opponents scoop when this hits the battlefield because it's very hard to deal with if you don't have an answer right away. So that is the deck. Enough stalling, enough chatting. Let's get into some gameplay. Let's take a look at the first match here. We're going to play this one on the ladder. Our opponent is Mystigris, playing some sort of red-orange mid-range control deck. Of course, in the game, I didn't know this at this point, but we'll find out soon enough. Our opening hand, it's a good poker hand. Not so good for Mythgard, though. But nothing we can do, so let's just roll with it. Hopefully we'll draw into something better. Burn Duskwing Angel. Since we have 3 of them in hand, put out Strigoi Pup, say go. They burn their Armageddon Angel, so now I know it's a mid-range control deck. And puts out an Eager Recruit, which is not a good sign for us. Typically, Orange likes to put out a lot of little creatures in the early game to make trade after trade after trade till they can get to their bigger stuff. This deck really doesn't want to be trading. It still wants to be somewhat aggressive, but, you know, they have recruits for days, so not much we can do here. Draw a 3rd Strigoi Pup, don't need it. Might as well just throw out the Icor Feast, we don't have anything else. And we do hit a Daring Trapezist and a Shopworn Bull and Cerberus Unchained, which is good. Panic Raider of their own. Hit us, draw a card. Firesong Prodigy is a good pickup here. We can put that in front of the Panic Raider, get an Ignition spell in our hand. Then we'll play the Trapezist, do a couple points of damage, so we're starting to get a little bit ahead of him here. burn the Seal of Exile. Then they put Dark Passenger on the Panic Raider. Not sure if that's a good trade because you're expending 2 cards to get rid of 1. But you usually want to use that on a higher value target. But it is what it is. Put out our Duskwing Angel. Let's see if they put anything in front to block it. They do. And that's perfectly fine. Because if you remember, the Duskwing Angel has the Agile, so we can go right around their creature. Their minion, I should say. So we go around the Ifrit, do 4 points of damage, gain 4 life. Cerberus Unchained. So we're going to lose our Trapezes to Ghoul, that's fine. We're going to trade with the Ifrit, that's fine. Now they put Dark Passenger on the Panic Raider. That's great. And how about the Duskwing Angel dealing 4 points damage, taking out a creature and gaining us 8 life, really showing its value there. Ghoul exiles a creature from our graveyard to heal itself. Put a Wyvern down in the middle slot. We're going to pay for that in a moment here. That was a mistake on my part. Because opponent's going to put out Magmatar. Wipe us out. I should have put the Wyvern on the other side, as far away from them as possible. But, mistake on my part. We paid for it. Fortunately, though, we do have 2 Ignition spells in hand, so we can take out their creatures. They're in winter right now, so we can do an extra point of damage. Shopborn Bull. Hopefully we'll get a creature, because we really need one right now. Don't get it. They're going to play Sign of Pride. They're going to turn our Bull into a Lion. And we cannot attack into them because our Lion is a spirit token and Scion is immune to damage from spirits. Going to put out an Oka Dodana here. If we can take out their Panic Raider, that's great. If they want to attack into it with their Scion, that's fine too. And they do, they're going to move it over, they'll attack into it, we'll take a point of damage. Get Panic Raider. At this point, we're just digging to hopefully get, some gas here to get going. Draw an Ignition spell, take out our Wyvern. Now this point sequencing is important. If we attack first, we'll damage the Bull, but we won't destroy it. But let's play Panic Raider first, see what we get. We get Crimson Pact. So we take out their Bull, we swing in for an extra 4 points of damage. So that's where sequencing is important. Get as much information as you can before you make your move. All right, we get it. Seal of Exile on Lion, not the best use for it because they're going to lose mana to get rid of it. That's one you really want multiple targets for to get good value out of it, but they don't have a choice. Doing Trapezist. Dashing Ringmaster, out comes Wing of Abaddon. Sacrifice it. And at this point, we're far ahead in life, so we can afford to be aggressive still. So rather than worrying about blocking the wings, I'm going to put my Duskwing Angel over on the other end, threaten lethal here. Because I don't think they're going to be able to swing for 16 points in one turn. They play the Resupply Caravan. They can't attack again because they'll lose the parry. But again, it's not enough to stop us. Duskwing Angel has Agile, so we can just go right around their defenses and take out the opponent. So, yeah, that went very, very well for us. We didn't get to use our Cerberus. We didn't even get our 7th Wing Ritual, but we ended up winning the game. Duskwing Angel really showing her value there, gaining us a ton of life, being able to step around our opponent, and because we had so much life, we could afford to be aggressive at the end to close it out. And Panic Raider 2, helping us dig for the cards that we need, and Shopworn Bull showing some value. So, yeah, careful strategy, careful where you place. We got punished because we didn't place things well. So, yeah, a lot of things to be careful of when you're playing Mythgard. So, all right, that was the first game. Let's take a look at another one. Game number 2. Our opponent is Foreign Legion, playing Green-Yellow Control. And our opening hand looks pretty solid. We have minions to play turns 2, 3, 4, and 5. Couple of spells, including removal spell. I preferably like to have a Strigoi Pup in the opening hand, but this will definitely do, so let's play it out, see what happens. Alright, Alacrity, that's better later on in the game, so we'll just burn that and say go. Opponent plays out a Grinning Kolobak. And we do have an answer for that with the Daring Trapezist. We can just drop that in, swing right in, take out the Kolobok. And as that bonus, our Trapezist will actually stay on the battlefield. Burn the Witch! Then they play Wake the Bones to bring back the Kolobok. Curious move from the opponent. Wake the Bones is usually a card you want to burn early, play late. You want to save that for your bigger creatures to bring them back in the late game. So it makes me think that our opponent has a really, really slow opening hand and that their best play is to ramp up as fast as possible. They're going to spend all kinds of mana just to get this thing to move once, to ramp up 1 mana. So just a strange play there. Bowl digging for cards. Fortunately, we have Wings of Abaddon. That can take out the Kolobok, do a few points of damage to the opponent. Beatdown plan is on track so far. This is control, so yep, here comes Mesa Libre. It's going to pin down our Bull. And Gallows Boy is going to come out as well. Now, the only way we can attack with a Rush minion at this point is right up the middle. So we're going to swing with the Trapezist, slide it over with Impel. Then we'll get in with our Wyvern, do some more damage. Again, just trying to attack opponents as fast as can. Harvester comes into play. But we do have an answer. We have Magnetar in hand. We draw a second one. We're going to filter that out with the Bull since we don't actually need it. Our life total is fine, so don't need the Angel. Here comes Magnetar. Take out the Libre. Wyvern will get in and get the Bull. Or the Harvester, rather. And we're not looking too good at this point. We don't have a lot of cards in hand. Our board isn't looking so great. And here comes Sapo. Bye-bye Magnetar. Now we got an 8/8 that's warded to deal with. So let's see what we can do. Oak of Dodana. They're going to be in winter next turn. So they can attack either the Bull or the Oak. And then the other one can finish it off. It's down to 3 health. Chant Eater comes into play, and then they detain the Bull, so I can't even attack with that. He's taking enough damage that Gigantomachia isn't even going to take out Sapo at this point, so we need to hit a Rush minion. Nope. Nope. Can we get there with the Bull? And the Bull gets there. We hit our Iron Belly Wyvern. Bull showing its value by filtering out the cards. We take out Sapo. Play out Strigoi Pup, because why not? So we're not out of the woods. Here comes Shortstag. Going to put Sapo back into the hand. And we draw the 7-ring ritual. So we take out the Shortstag. Swing at our opponent for 4. Get a removal spell. That's good. We have the end game in sight now that we had the 7-ring ritual. Attack Strigoi Pup. That's fine. They're going to burn a Volition. Traitorous Murmur on the Bull. And at that point, I realized, oh, great, he must have the Volition in hand to swing with the Sapo, deal a ton of damage to us. And here comes 7-ring ritual. And our opponent's plan is just up in smoke at this point. He has nowhere to go with his attacks. And he has to be tilted because in comes Sapo. He puts it in between his other 2. He destroys his other 2 minions, and that's the wrong play. You want to go wide. You can't go tall. You can't pump it as big as you can. You have nowhere to go. And that's the end of our opponent. So no offense to our opponent, but to beat green-yellow with this deck, it always feels good, especially with the 7-ring ritual. We were a turn away from having a giant Sapo swing at us, bringing us down to only a couple of health. If we hadn't had that 7-ring ritual, we probably would have lost that one. But as it happens, it was in our hand. We were able to make the play and just kind of ruined our opponent's day with it. So, yeah, game was a great example of what this deck can do. We were outsized by our opponent's creatures, but our abilities kind of won us the day. We had Magnetar to kind of trim down the Harvester so it could be taken out. We had Shotborn Bull just digging through cards, filtering out the stuff we didn't need, drawing us a good couple cards we did need. We also had the Impel to move stuff around to where we needed to. So, yeah, that was a good win and a good example of exactly what this deck can do. Said it's about showing off what the deck can do, but really it's not. It's more about showing off what the color can do. And as you saw, in those videos, red likes to hit hard, it likes to hit fast, it likes to try and take out the opponents fast as it can, and in cases where the enemy does get minions down, which believe me, they will, or the game goes a little bit longer, it has a number of ways which it can deal with those minions, either by getting around them or by removing them. It has a variety of ways in which it can do that. So if you need a color that adds a bit of an aggressive slant to it, it has a number of ways to deal with enemy minions, then red is definitely a good way to go. So that's it for my first video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Do you have a favorite card in red? Let me know in the comments below. Also, hit that like and subscribe button because, you know, if I get the more people I have interested in this channel, the more I can do with it. And also increases my own sense of self-worth, which I so sorely need. As for where this channel is going, I don't know exactly how often I'll be posting. I would like to do one gameplay video a week and one non-gameplay video a week as well. So about 2 videos a week, maybe, possibly. In the non-gameplay footage, I'll show off different aspects in the game or talk about different subjects, things of that nature. So the best way to follow me right now is to hit that subscribe button below. I don't know how often I'll be posting. I don't have a set schedule or anything like that. And also, if you're interested in the deck, I will post a link below. I'll always make sure to post a deck list or a link or something like that so you guys can build the decks for yourselves and try out different things with it. So that's it for my first video. Thank you all for watching. See you again in the near future.